Welcome to The Magic of Positive Thinking, a podcast hosted by Norb Savannasini, founder of AmericanEagle.com, and writer Al Edwards. Norb, you look like $15.5 million today.
Well, yeah, I know. I was missing the other half.
That's right.
But no, it's an incredibly nice day. We had 2 days of extreme heat, which I missed, actually. I was out of town, but I heard how awful it was.
It was super hot.
But interestingly enough, today it's a very nice day. It's cloudy, but it's cool. It's nice. And I thank God, like I do every day, for this gift that we get.
Absolutely.
For nothing. And it's just fantastic. That's why they call it the present.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you're right. It was really hot for a while in the summer here in Chicago, and then it cooled down for a few weeks, and then it came back to the 90s. And I love it, but I always think of one gentleman, and that is Mr. Carrier, the man that invented air conditioning.
Yeah. We have to thank Mr. Carrier.
I mean, it's things like that, friends, we take for granted, but, it didn't always exist.
Yeah, I don't know why his name isn't as recognized as Edison, or because truthfully, today life would be totally, totally different, especially nobody would live in Florida or Arizona or Las Vegas if it wasn't for Carrier. I mean, some people would, but those are basically the ones that border on insanity.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Very true. You see his name on a lot of, if you walk around neighborhoods, you see his name on a lot of air compressors. It just says Carrier.
Carrier, yeah, right.
Because that's still a big manufacturer of air conditioning. But before we get officially started, fun fact, Carrier invented air conditioning not to cool people, but he was working for a publishing company, and the pages of the books with excessive moisture would stick together and they would bind up. And he invented that machinery so the pages in the book
dehumidify.
Dehumidify. Yeah, right. And that's essentially what air conditioning is. You're dehumidifying.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So that's a little fun fact.
That's really interesting. Yeah.
Well, friends, this is our 31st show, Norb, by the way. Can you believe that?
Yeah, no, it's very nice.
We talk a lot about different things, but, the one theme is always optimism is a way of life, positivity is a way of life. And one of the things that Norb and I have always shared, and for those of you who may not be aware, I've known Norb since I was 12 years old, and he's had a tremendous impact on my life. And one of the things we just naturally share is what I call the childlike wonder about life. And we've talked about this in the past, but I really want to focus on that as the main topic today. And this is something, and I'm going to tell a story in a few minutes about how I was first shown Norb's childlike wonder of life. But I've found some stuff that's interesting. It says, have you ever stopped in your tracks by the side of an incredible sunset, or gazed in wonder at the vastness of a starry night? Or maybe you've gotten lost in an incredible piece of art, or in the words of an inspiring speaker, or a powerful piece of music. If you have experienced what we call awe. And scientists have actually proven that these jaw-dropping positive emotions are essential to our happiness. And Norb, you are the original childlike wonder person. When did you first discover that? As a young man, what kind of things did you realize that you really were blown away by in life?
Well, it's kind of interesting you asked me that question, because I've wondered myself, and I think that my father was an engineer, and he was always telling me about these inventions that were happening in his lifetime, which were much more revolutionary than now, except for the internet and the iPhone, which is probably one of the great ones.
Right.
But I guess I just grew into that mindset. And then going back to the reason we do the show, The Strangest Secret, that kind of reinforced me and began showing me how you should look at life as this incredible magic thing that we have,
Right.
We have this brain that allows us to appreciate this. And, we talked about this before, that animals are pre-programmed to do what they do. and we're not. That's the difference. A bird, which is a wonderful, wonderful, incredible thing in nature, they're not really emotionally moved by a beautiful piece of music or an art, a piece of art, and we are,
Right.
and we have to be thankful that we have that ability, And if you just realize that, I think your mind will change, you know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, we talk about birds on the show. We like to think we're so incredibly advanced. The human brain is the most sophisticated thinking mechanism on Earth. And yet it takes somebody 22 years to get through college to learn how to build a bridge that's not going to fall down.
Yeah.
And yet a tiny little bird knows how to do that at birth.
Oh, yeah. And they build this incredible nests that are just very intricate, and that's a very interesting study of if you start looking at nests built by different birds.
Mm-hmm.
It's just incredible. Some of them are incredibly, incredibly sophisticated.
Absolutely. And they don't have to go to Home Depot to get all their material.
No. In South America, they make a nest made out of mud. There's a bird, I don't know the name of it.
It's the mud bird.
Maybe, yeah. But they actually make a ball, and it has a hole in it, obviously, and inside it's hollow. And this is their nest, and to construct that, it's incredible. It's a little bird that makes this thing.
And this is the awe, friends, that we're talking about today. We have to stop in our stressed out, petty thinking most of the time, much including me, and I'm the king of that. We have to stop and get a bigger picture and look at mud nests and just appreciate how unbelievable that is.
Oh, yeah. And to get to the other side about look what man has achieved. You know, I mean, it's we always talk about guys like Edison and Carrier and stuff like that, but some guy out in the country, he builds his own house or he builds a deck, and they apply as much love as Edison did in creating the light bulb, because he's creating happiness for his family unit or whatever he strives for.
Yeah, absolutely. And the awe of the human spirit is actually something that we're going to talk about a little bit.
Yeah.
But, we've talked about kind of an abbreviated version of this quote from Einstein, but I found something. Einstein, somebody wrote a book, or I don't think he did, I'm not sure, but someone, there's a book called Albert Einstein, Living Philosophies. And this quote from Einstein, Albert Einstein says, "The most beautiful thing we can experience is the mysterious. It is the source of all true art and science. He to whom this emotion is a stranger, who can no longer pause to wonder and stand wrapped in awe, is as good as dead. His eyes are closed."
Yeah.
And the stresses of everyday life and all of our worries can put these dampers on our eyes. And we have to make the conscious decision to stop and look around at life and go, wow.
Yeah, and it's going back to the stranger's secret, which is really why, and we say this in just about every show. If you don't know it by now, you're going to hear it every show. Earl Nightingale talked about the 100-man story.
Right.
And it relates not only to the success of someone, but also not from a money standpoint, but also in the life standpoint.
Right.
And, just to give you an idea, this was from a Social Security study, and I actually just printed this right before I came to the show. And I don't know when this study was made. This article was from 2018, but you take any group of 100 people at the start of their working careers, and you follow them for 40 years until they reach retirement. And here is what you're going to find. And this is according to the Social Security Administration, which, as you all know, is a federal government agency. And out of 100 people, now to be fair, about a third of them will be dead. So unluckily, there's a lot of people that, pass away for different reasons. But only one will actually be really wealthy. Now, by wealthy, the Social Security Administration just talks about money.
Right.
4 will be financially secure. 5 will continue working, some because they want to, but some because they have to.
Right.
Okay. Now, 54 of them will actually be dependent on money coming in from somewhere because they have not been able, to have the ability to or the conduct
Right.
to put some money aside.
Right.
Now, the reason I bring this up is because, the same things that apply when it comes to money apply to be happy in life.
Wow.
And to be happy in life, if you take the same kind of statistics, only one will be really, really happy about life. Hopefully, Al and I are
right. Hopefully, the two of them.
4 will actually be, happy and they have a content life. 5 will keep working towards that goal. They won't be really bad off. But they'll be working, try to be happy and try to make their life. But 54 of them will be miserable the rest of their lives. And when you see today, everything that's going on, and like Al says, he doesn't watch any of the news, and I try not to, but you can't help it. It's just so ridiculously negative that, one of the most incredible, there's a great movie, and I can't remember it right now, what's the name of it, the one with oh God, well, it's a school, and this comic, Williams,
Dead Poet Society.
Dead Poet Society.
Yep.
Yeah, and there's a moment in that movie that's really, really impressive because it affects all of us.
Mm-hmm.
The kids are watching he's showing the kids in that school a picture of a class of like 50 years ago or 60 years ago, and he mentions, all of these people are dead. And he says, you have to realize that this will happen to all of us.
Right.
And we have to make the best that we can while you have this gift that was given to you. And that really leaves an impression because I think a lot of people just live just being worried about things that we really can't control.
Right.
And whatever comes our way, it comes our way. Al, in one of the shows, Al had a story that if you have a flat tire, you're planning on a trip, you just fix it and you just keep going.
And move on, yeah.
And today we're worried about this and we're worried about that. We're worried about that. Well, you know what? In 100 years, none of this are going to matter.
Exactly.
None of it.
Yep.
So we have to actually live for today because today is the most important day of your life. And if you look at it from a positive standpoint, my God, look at the gifts that I have today. It's fantastic. So we have to relate to that 100-man story, not only for money, like Social Security Administration was, but also for happiness in our lives. Because I'm not going to say that everybody that's financially secure is happy, but they tend to be happier than somebody that doesn't have a financial security.
Right.
So if you do things right, things will come out okay,
that's fascinating because you're right. One of the, friends, if you've listened to this show, when we talk about success or accomplishment or happiness, yeah, money plays a part in some of those things, but this show is much more about the rest of happiness and success in life, however you define that. But the curious thing, Norb, that you just said is that it's the state of mind that will bring the same results, whether it's money or happiness or whatever you're measuring. It's that same state of mind.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I never thought of it.
Yeah. And, you know, in Japan, which is, we've talked about this before, it's a country I admire tremendously. The gentleman that's the most respected in industry, in fact, there's a Edward Deming award giving for excellence in manufacturing and business. This is an American guy. I think he was born in Omaha or something.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually, after World War II, went to Japan, and they listened to this guy on how to be successful. And, you know, some of those successes that he taught the Japanese people on how to make good products are applicable to your life. And the basis is life comes down to doing the small daily things that seem trivial.
Wow.
Isn't that a beautiful thing?
It really is.
Yeah. Eating right, exercising, doing the work you have to do, learning every day, and all these things that are not that difficult.
Right.
You know, so it's kind of an interesting comparison of the Social Security Administration and this.
Right.
Success breeds success.
Right.
And success in little things actually make the whole complete. You know, it's funny because actually I happened to be in the San Francisco area yesterday. And
that was a long walk.
Yeah, a long walk. It took me a long time, about 3 days.
Wow.
But to get there, coming back, I took a plane. The interesting part is that, you know, we talk about, like in Japan, you don't see little pieces of paper and stuff. And you can see the decay in a society, because San Francisco is probably one of the most beautiful towns in this country. And it's really, really interesting. But to get to San Francisco, you have to, you know, cross a lot of bridges. And the traffic is just incredibly, incredibly thick. And the amount of trash on the highway is just beyond belief. It's really sad to see.
You'd never see that in Japan, would you?
Oh, no. Well, honest, I mean, I don't know any other place in this country that I've seen that kind of disregard.
I wonder why.
I don't know, because, you know, California is a state where if you go, you throw trash and they have 3 bins, and I don't even know what the heck, because here you have 2 bins, you know, for plastics and the other stuff.
Right.
There's 3. I don't even know what the third one is for. And but it's there, and they're very, very careful about this and that. You know, there's rules for everything. And still the people throw trash on the highway, little bags of trash that they don't go to a garbage can and throw it. You know? And it's just amazing how it reflects in their own life.
Right.
Because the disregard of that, I'm sure, coincides with the disregard for your own life, you know?
Absolutely. There was a great speaker and psychologist who just died about 10 years ago. His name was Wayne Dyer. And if you've not heard of Wayne Dyer, there's all kinds of YouTube and Audible stuff. He really was good. And he used to talk about this thing that when you squeeze an orange, what comes out naturally? Orange juice. So when you squeeze a person, whatever is inside of them is going to come out, no matter who squeezes it. And the person who throws the garbage out on the street and has disregard for not only his or her own environment, but his fellow human beings, has that garbage inside of him because he doesn't care.
Right. And you know, what's interesting, if I had to bet on what kind of life that person has,
right,
I think I would be like 99% accurate.
Right. No, I think there's
because
no
anybody
doubt.
who does that, you know, it's really interesting. But there's another thing which is interesting, you know. Uh, if you want to win the big war of life, win the tiny little battles every day. And a tiny little battle is, one of the first shows we did, I went to Japan and I talked about Japan, how clean it was and how you don't see a little piece of paper on the floor. And
Right.
and since we did that, I really have been picking up little pieces of paper.
I have too.
And I recommend everybody to do it because you feel good about it.
Right.
You really feel good. I don't care who you are, where you are. If you pick that little piece of paper and throw it in the garbage, you're going to feel good. I guarantee you that.
It's one of those awe moments we're talking about today.
Yeah. Just do little things like that. So, and going back to Deming in Japan, he had 14 rules, which I have here, but basically it's just doing the little things, and you do the little things, and you do not have to worry about the big thing.
Right. It's like that old expression: "Take care of the pennies, and the dollars will take care of themselves."
Absolutely, very good. Yeah, very good. Exactly.
Deming should actually be brought up on charges of traitorism because he taught the Japanese how to eventually eat our lunch.
Well, the interesting thing about it is that he was an American that actually took the best ideas from American manufacturing,
right,
and took them to Japan. But he found, a country that was basically destroyed. So it was virgin, and he could instill these things, and the Japanese had adopted it.
right.
And, that's one of the things in life. Whatever advantage you might have, it's a disadvantage because our country, because it didn't have, an enemy that destroyed everything here.
Right.
There were things that were just set in stone here. That if Deming came and he says you have to do this, you say, "No, who are you?"
Right.
Where in Japan, they just accepted it because they had to start from nothing,
right?
Which is an advantage.
And they were the ones that ironically taught us, in the 70s, for example, when American cars were really junk in the 70s.
Oh, yeah.
And that's when the Japanese really ate our lunch. And they were taught by an American, ironically.
Yeah, exactly.
And the Japanese had to reteach us what to do, and we started building.
Quality,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right.
I've always said, Henry Ford was not Japanese. Americans are innovators, but the Japanese are perfecters.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, they're very honest. Japanese people are very, very honest, and they'll say it to your face. You guys are incredible because you innovate, you think about new things, but after we have to do it, after you make the product, we can do it better. We're better at that.
Exactly.
And you know what? They say it honestly, not bragging about it, because they're giving us the credit for being the innovators and the people that, have a vision.
Right.
Yeah.
I was in the insurance business for a very long time. And part of that time I worked for a Japanese insurance agency, believe it or not. And I got to know some of these guys from Japan. I worked with them every day. And I used to think the Japanese were smarter than us. And it turns out they're not smarter. On a scale of 1 to 100, if we think level 47 is good enough to send a product out to market, the Japanese say no, level 67 is the standard to send it out.
They demand quality. And interestingly enough, one of the things that Deming introduced to their manufacturing was that the lowest man on that totem pole could stop production if he or she thought that there was something wrong. And there was respect for that. So it wasn't this hierarchy that because I'm the general, I know better, how to do it. No, there was respect for the sergeant or the regular,
the private,
the private, and that's something that's really to be admired. Really,
anybody can stop the train.
Anybody can stop the train, and that's why. Let's face it, people have a lot of respect for Japanese engineering. And the other day, I was reading a report that was basically from an American company about the best repair record of 10 cars, 10 automobiles. Unluckily, they were all either Japanese or Korean.
Right.
Which is really kind of sad because what do they know that we don't know? You know? But it's if you put something together correctly,
right,
and that person that is doing it has pride in the product,
right,
that product's going to be good, you know. And it's the same thing in your own life. If you do not accept, mistakes that you make,
right,
and repair them,
right,
the product isn't going to be as good.
That's right. And the principles, there's a book that we're going to do a whole show on soon, but it's called Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude. It was written in about 1960. And they talk about a coin and the tailsman of the coin. You've got the positive side and the negative side. And all the principles are the same on either side. And it's how you apply them and approach them will determine whether the result is positive or negative. But it's the same coin, two different sides. And that's kind of what you're talking about there.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. The most interesting part about this, and if anybody gets anything out of these shows, is that, Al always says it, these are all people we talk about, Carrier, Ford, Edison. These were people that weren't exceptional to begin with. Edison, they thought the guy was an idiot when he was a kid, and
right.
Ford was taught by his mother. I don't even know if he went to a regular school,
like a fifth grade education or something.
Yeah,
like that.
And I don't know anything about Carrier, so I'm not going to make a comment on it. But we all have within ourselves the ability to create a real good product. We are a product,
right?
And you have to do the little things to have a good product.
Right. And this is a perfect segue because this is one of the ways to experience awe in everyday life. And that's admire and be inspired by the greatness of other people. It says, do you tear up when seeing the heroic rescue of a child from the rubble of an earthquake? Feel touched by someone giving food to a homeless person on the street, or experience admiration as you watch athletes compete? Many of us find the kindness, resilience, innovation, courage, and perseverance of everyday people awe-inspiring, whether it's a superb athlete or an everyday person just being generous to another person. And we've talked about that so much. It's so easy to touch another human being today. Just say, "How are you? You look really nice."
Yeah.
I mean, it's unbelievable. That's a great way to inspire awe in your own life, is to get inspired by other people.
Well, and again, we always talk about this subject. The things we talk about, ladies and gentlemen, don't cost anything.
They're free.
And we always give a great amount of importance to things that cost money.
Right.
These are free. These are totally free. If you get one of the Rothschild family that's born, that's probably has $1 trillion in his name, he has the same brain capacity as some poor kid that, is born in the middle of Nebraska.
That's right.
Same brain capacity. Now, does one have more opportunity than other? Maybe in different ways. Maybe somebody with great wealth, born into great wealth, has to be almost pitied because he won't have the ability to look at things like the kid in Nebraska, because when you're really wealthy, you don't know what it is, maybe, to go buy a hamburger with a few bucks in your pocket.
Right.
Or deliver papers to make a few bucks or something like that. I was just watching a show about Walt Disney, and you talk about somebody that's we have to have a show on him.
Yeah.
But Walt Disney was really poor, and he sold newspapers, and he had paper routes, and he gave all the money to his family because family didn't have, and he had a few newspapers left, and he would sell them to people, and then with that money he would go to amusement parks because he loved amusement parks. but he had this vision of creating, and just about everything that he proposed to businessmen and investors, they said, Walter, are you crazy?
Right.
Because he did stuff that nobody else did, even merchandising the product.
Right.
You look at Star Wars and you see all these things that are sold, the little dolls and stuff. But Walt Disney was the first guy who started merchandising the stuff he was making. So,
and he was told by a newspaper editor that he had no creative ideas.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what you got. You have to believe in yourself. And if you do the little things right, the product will be good.
That's right. That's right.
You can't help it.
Ships sink through 1,000 little holes and one big torpedo. You either are going to make it or break it, either by big things or little things.
Yeah.
Everyday things. Well, this whole idea of being inspired by people and seeing the awe in other people, I have to tell this story because to this day, it's had an impact on me. Norb over the years has owned and run many businesses. And when I first got to know the Savannasinis in the late 70s and early 80s, he owned a plastic company that would chrome pots and things of this nature. It was in Evanston, Illinois. It was called B&T Plastics.
Yeah.
And on summer break, I would go over there sometimes and spend some days there. And Mike and I and a few other friends, Norb's son Mike, we were in the loading dock one day. And you had a hand truck where you could lift up pallets with thousands of pounds. And this thing would just go up like it was lifting a feather. And we were about 16. And we would take turns standing on the jack. And then the other guys would pump up the pump, and we would just rise up like it was nothing. And Norb was about 40 at the time, 39, 40. And I thought at 16, I thought he was Methuselah. I thought he was the old as dirt, and he was 39, which is about 17 years younger than I am now. And he ran in and without saying anything, yelled out to us, "Incredible!" And what he meant by that was how incredible and awe-inspiring it was that some human being, through hydraulic pressure or air pressure, figured out a way to, with one hand, lift up thousands of pounds like it was a feather. And I never forgot that. And if I go up to Mike Savannasini today and I just yell out, "Incredible!" he knows exactly what that means. And that was really the beginning of this journey I've been on of understanding the awe that you have for life.
Well, yeah, and it never ceases to, and I wish everybody would get a little bit of that, because I'm telling you, it's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun. I found something out, what was it the other day that was really interesting? I forgot what it was. It couldn't have been that important, but when you discover things, because you wonder, well, how did that start? Who actually thought of that?
Right.
And you find out, well, it's just like the thing about Carrier. He didn't invent air conditioning to make the place cooler. Luckily, the pages stuck.
Right.
So he wanted to dehumidify and all.
Right.
Hey, my God, I discovered air conditioning. That's a great story.
Or we'd be stuck today. Sweating.
So, things like that. I really get a kick out of them even today. Yeah. Just anything, look at a bottle. I mean, I have a water bottle here in front of me, and, it's actually blown. The air is blown into a piece of plastic into a die, and it forms that shape. I mean, that's incredible.
It's mind-blowing.
Yeah, it really is. And we have thousands and hundreds of thousands, millions of them. And we don't say anything, but somebody did that. And I'm sure that whoever did it, once that he got that bottle like that, he'd say, "Wow, look what I just did," And he was a regular person, same mind that you have. But I want to leave with this. I was with businessmen this last 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
And what's really interesting from a negative standpoint, which really bugs the daylights out of me, is that, when I grew up and it was 94 degrees, and it was hot. But now the news is it feels like 110.
Right.
It feels like this and it feels like that. And I was thinking, there's a comparison with intelligence. And, we gauge intelligence with IQ, whether it's right or wrong, I don't know. But, we should look at somebody and say, that person has 140 IQ, but it feels like if he's got 80 because he's so stupid, And by the way, everybody liked that comparison. And I hate this negativity of it feels like 110. I don't give a heck what it feels like.
Right.
It's 94. I know it's hot when it's 94.
In other words, you're talking about the IQ wind chill factor.
Yeah. The IQ, your real IQ.
Right.
You might have a really super IQ. Well, we talk about Einstein, who was an incredibly bright person, a huge IQ, said a lot of incredible things, but as far as his organization in his private life, he couldn't balance his
checkbook. Yeah, right.
So, his IQ for that particular thing was probably 72.
Right.
So it's kind of an interesting comparison. And by the way, that's my own, so I'm very proud of that. I didn't read it anyplace.
And Norb will be copywriting that. So please, friends, if you're tempted to use it anywhere else, Norb will sue you. He does know a lot of lawyers. So, but I guess we've had a lot of fun today, and what it all boils down to, we are trying to inspire other people, not with any new information. Everything we talk about, friends, goes back to not even the Bible, pre-Bible, Roman Empire, and all these ancient philosophers have talked about all this stuff. And we all just need to stop and look around and go, wow, we are alive, and look at this, and look at the awe all around us. And I think that's really going to renew our spirits. But we have to take the time to do it, because the world's not going to do that for us, because the world likes to fill us up with minutia and the urgent and not the important.
Well, it's like, it feels like 110.
Right.
I mean, why would anybody say that?
Right.
There's nothing positive about that.
Right.
Why would you say that? It's 94 degrees. Ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be hot. Luckily, we live in an era where there's air conditioning.
That's
any
right.
place. Even if you don't have air conditioning, the city supplies areas for free where you can go and enjoy.
Right.
And we talked about Hannibal, Missouri, where Mark Twain
and the caves.
Okay, and they went to caves to cool off.
Right.
And you know what? They didn't say, God, it feels like 190. No, it was hotter than hell, and they got to go to a cave.
Into a cave.
So we're blessed that we have.
We sure are.
Yeah.
So, friends, take the time to not worry about the heat feels like index. Take the time to look around with your own mind and discover the awe in your own life. So,
amen.
Norb, thank you, my wonderful friend. You are a treasure to all of us.
Well, thank you. I hope you enjoyed it. I've had a lot of fun talking about this because, the negativity has to be fought.
Yes.
And luckily, we have been given an incredible brain that is able to fight all the stupidity that's being spewed by people that make money
right.
promoting negativity.
And only we can decide to not allow it in our brains.
Don't allow it. Laugh at it. Laugh at it.
That's right.
Friends,
thank you for joining us. We hope you've had as much fun as we've had. And for Norb Savannasini, this is Al Edwards, and we will definitely see you next time. Thank you.
God bless. Bye-bye now.